Hey guys, Thetcglover here, got a video today. I went onto MKO40's YouTube channel and I saw a video that he made basically saying that if you went to locals and you consistently win at locals, it's irrelevant, okay? It still makes you a bad player. Basically, the title of his video was, if you play at locals and you're good at locals and you win all the time, it doesn't make you a good player. I agree with that. However, at the same time, there were a few flaws to his logic that annoyed me, and the reason why I'm making this video is not a response to his video, basically challenging the mentality that people have where, you know, if you play good at locals, it doesn't mean anything. First off, the thing that annoyed me was that MKO40, he plays in the country which has the most amount of players, a very competitive player base, yet also has a large volume of bad players. I'm not saying that Europeans are better than Americans, but I'm pretty sure there is a lot of bad American players. Basically, we can call them casual, but there are some who actually want to be competitive, but they're just really not on the ball, and they just don't know what they're doing. He started to list a bunch of different stereotypes of players that you would expect to see at a locals. Okay, there's the collector who just has a bunch, who basically has every single card, and he buys the cards and he just collects them for the sake of collecting them. So he might enter the tournament and he doesn't really take it seriously. He probably just plays a deck like Dragoonities, or even just plays the best deck but doesn't actually win because he doesn't really care about the skill. He just cares about the fact that he has every card, so he can play the best deck but still does crap with it. So it's a good way to prove that skill does exist in the game, you know. Apart from him, there was obviously the casual guy who always goes and he plays in a tournament but he's always rubbish, and he plays something like Gimmick Puppets is what MKO40 decided to use as an example. I agree with these, but at the same time, he is, as I said before, MKO40, he is actually, he's living in the most popular, the country that has the most amount of players, okay? And basically he's saying that he can go to an 8-man locals, play in this 8-man tournament, win it, and not be considered good, okay? And that means that in general sense, going to a locals and winning it doesn't mean anything. But actually, if you actually go outside of America, which Americans consider to be the world, and I'm not saying that in an offensive way, I know that a lot of you guys are from America watching my video, and I don't mean that as in all Americans are arrogant and they all assume that America is the entire planet and the rest of the world just revolves around them, which it does in some sense because of wars and stuff like that, especially with Syria. Basically generalizing it and saying that the whole every locals in the planet is bad, okay, because I don't agree with that whatsoever. I come from the UK, okay, and when I play in London, and in London we have a pretty decent player base, okay. Obviously London is the centre of Europe in some sense, okay. There is no other city in the world, there's no other country in Europe which has such an influence as London does. So London has a lot of wealth in some sense, but also has a lot of players who are really competitive, okay, very smart players. You have a lot of well-educated people who actually do play this game, and they actually use their intelligence that they've learnt to put it into the game and play it as well as possible, okay. I go to a locals and it's called Bermondsey Locals, and I guess I could probably put a link to their video, their channel down below. The locals is actually, like, you know, easily when they host a tournament, they host, you know, it gets about 30 players. Okay, 30 players is pretty decent for locals, but that's not to be that's to be expected. You know, you can expect a locals to have a 30-man tournament, you know, or 30-man tournament. You go to the top table where they have like 10 tables, so maybe the top 20 players, and if you look across the board, you go to table 1 where the 2 best players who have been undefeated, you'll see Dragon Rulers. Okay, you'll see Dragon Rulers, you'll see Prophecy, you'll see Evil Swarm, you maybe see one rogue deck, but as soon as you go across the board, that doesn't change. It's still the same. Okay, you get to the end and there'll be Hieratics, which is still a really good deck. Now that Karkadi is at 3, you can still play the really good Hieratics. There will be obviously the occasional Chain Burn, but you won't expect to see something like Gimmick Puppets because my locals doesn't have bad players, okay, and if you win at this locals and you can do it consistently, then you are pretty much just as good as someone who can top a YCS, okay. And that's the thing that annoys me. He started going off on his videos saying how basically even in that scenario, if you can play at a locals, which in my locals, that locals has judges who actually go to YCSs, who went to YCS Brussels, all the judges that judged at my locals. If you win at that kind of level, it doesn't mean anything, and it does. You know, it's like I've managed to get like top 8, you know, once or twice, and to be honest, I feel pretty happy about that. And I don't think just because it's a locals doesn't mean that I'm a bad player. I think of myself as trying to improve, you know, I'm trying to get better, but I just don't like the way that he's addressing it, you know. And a lot of people gave me stick about it, saying that actually his logic makes a lot of sense, and if you think you're any good then you're bad. Actually, you know, you don't realize you're delusional and you don't understand. Well, come out of America, start to observe other countries and the other players who play, and actually realize that other parts of the world take this game very seriously, and we're not going to mess around, and we don't mess around. I mean, when YCS London happens, everyone who's coming from my locals all going to wear the same t-shirt, so we're all going to represent London as a unit, so that we're going to show the opponent that we're actually serious business. We're just the locals. That's the thing, we're just the locals, we're suddenly bad just because of that. It doesn't make any sense. We have a lot of players who consistently go to all the European YCSs and we all top. Not I top, but all the other people top as well. And I get to play against some of the best players that the UK has to offer. Why just suddenly assume that locals is going to be bad? So there you go. And that's my opinion on it. Comment down below how you feel about locals is bad. You know, if you're good at locals doesn't mean you're any good kind of logic. How do you feel about it? And definitely don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and all that stuff. So until next time guys, the Thetcglover is out.